that we're going to work on today is a signature. This is a pretty easy thing to do, and but it's time consuming. You'll notice that what I have right here is my name, and I'm going to hit Control Enter, and this is what my signature looks like. Now, if you have a pen tablet, you can go in and write your signature, or you can go in and use some text. If I want, I can grab this pen and I can come in here and type my name, put my name in here if I want. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that because that's pretty funky looking. Let's go back to our pen. I want it to be ink, so I want it to look like ink. So when I come in here, I'm just going to grab this. If you have a pen tablet, you can make it, a little nicer and dress it up. The other thing that I can do is I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to grab all of this and make my line a little more solid so that you can see it when we go into work with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off this. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to put this on its own layer. And I'm going to hit Control X, put on a new layer, and just say my name. Oops. And I'm going to paste it in place here. Edit, paste in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this way I did it. I used little tiny, you can't really see it, I used little tiny chunks, and we just went out and took little pieces and erased it. Well, we're going to show you how to do this in a really cool way. But we're going to work from the S, the I, the R, the H, and the C and work backwards. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is going to be the part that's going to be really time consuming, because what we're going to do is we're going to insert, obviously, a keyframe into every single frame, because that gives us that smooth look that we're looking for. So I have my name here. I'm going to right mouse click and insert keyframe, not a blank keyframe, but a keyframe, because this is what we're going to work with. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this text so that I can play with it here. Let's go ahead and close that, lock that layer down. We're going to lock that layer down too. Now I'm going to grab my eraser tool, and I have some choices. I can take big chunks like this, or I can take even bigger chunks. I can go with a square. In this name, in this part, I used a small circle. In this way, I can come in and just use a square and take bigger chunks if I want. Okay. It really kind of just depends on how you want it to look. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to grab this. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to insert another keyframe. Grab that. Insert another keyframe here. And the next one, I'm going to insert a keyframe, erase. Next frame, insert keyframe, erase. Next one, insert keyframe, erase. Insert keyframe. And we're going to do this, but I want you to remember that we have to do it in reverse order. Because what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and Flash allows us this really cool option that when we select all these frames, we can actually reverse these frames. Okay? And I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. So I'm going to come in here, insert blank keyframe, and I'm going to work from bottom to top, because that's really what we want to do. We want to work from bottom to top. I'm going to insert keyframe there, because we want it to go from top to bottom, because that's how we write normally, left to right and top to bottom. Well, in this case, you'll notice that we're doing the exact opposite. Right to left, top to bottom. When I get to the R, I want to be real careful, because I'm going to come in here. I'm going to get real close to this line in here, but I want to be careful because I want it to look as close to a signature line as possible. So I'm just going to go there, and now I'm going to start at the bottom. Now, we can kind of get an idea how choppy this is going to look when we go through and do this. Okay, I'm going to go here, insert keyframe, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with this part of the letter and just grab this. Oops, Let's go right in there, insert keyframe. We got to be careful again when we get to the H because we're going to have a little bit of overlap, and we want to be careful because we're going to come down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and get as close to this as possible because we really do want it to look as realistic as possible without really taking away. I didn't like the way that one looked, so let's do this again. Let me look at this and see if we took anything off. And we didn't, so let's go back into this keyframe and erase. Well, that's still not good enough. I'm going to zoom in because I want to get pretty good detail with this. Problem is if I zoom in, notice how small my little square is. So I get something that looks a little different, so I've got to be real careful. This is one of those things where, you know, you kind of want to notice our eraser shape changes when the closer that we zoom in, the smaller our eraser becomes, which in some instances is probably a good thing, but in this case, not so good, because that means we're going to take a smaller chunk and not be consistent in what we're doing. All right, we're almost done. Boom. Now I got the C to go, and we're going to do the same thing. Remember though, we're not going to start at the top. We're going to actually work on the bottom. And insert. Now the longer the signature or the longer the word, the more frames you're going to use. We could take really big chunks out of this, but we want it to look as realistic as possible. The other option is to make a mask to do this. And we could do this similar to when we masked a photo. But we really don't want to do that, actually. You know, we just don't really want to get in there and do that if we don't have to. So this is a little more time consuming. Notice I used probably half of the keyframes as I did in this one, but the signature was a little bit smaller too. So I'm going to grab all of these, select them all. Then I want you to right mouse click, and way down here at the bottom you'll see reverse frames. What this is going to do is actually take the frame that's number 1 and turn it into frame 43. And the frame that's 43, it's going to turn into number 1. So what we get now is this. So now when we scrub the timeline, it looks like we've made our signature. Okay, so now when we get to here, I'm going to go ahead and right mouse click, insert. Actually, I'm going to clear this keyframe so that now what I have is that. If I come in here, I still continue my signature. I start. And actually, if we really wanted to, we could make a keyframe. We could insert a keyframe here. Let's just go ahead and move these all down one frame. It's not going to kill us. We'll just insert one frame that way. We've got a blank keyframe here. You'll see this keyframe. Well, I want to duplicate this keyframe, so I'm going to copy this keyframe. I'm going to copy the frame, grab that. I'm going to paste the frame, and I'm just going to come in here and do that. So what I have now is this. So I have nothing here in the front. Okay? So let's go ahead and hit Control Enter. It's going to play out. Now you can see the difference in these. Let's hit Control Enter again. You can see that they both look like signatures, but let's try and analyze this. Because this is square, this looks more like a signature. You can see the round in the brush that I used in this one. So if I come here, let's take that off. If I come here and I start to turn this around, what you start to see here is that as you start to jump, you'll see this little round right here. Let me switch tools. You'll see a little circle right here, which means I use this round brush. Okay. It's not going to give me the exact same look as when I use the squared brush. That's why I showed you the two different looks. The difference between the round brush, which is the bottom here, and the square brush, which kind of gives us a more realistic symbol. Also, my text is different because I used my signature. I drew my signature in here with the pencil, and I used a font on the bottom one. Now, you know, this isn't to say that you couldn't do the exact same thing with a picture or a font, bigger font. Just remember that the bigger the font, the bigger the eraser has to be. Also, probably the more chunks you want to take out. Otherwise, you're going to have a timeline, especially if you have a long name, that's going to be 100, 150. Because right here, we're at 80 frames right here. So we're sitting at 80 just to get this font with this little tiny brush that I used here. Okay, and I don't even think I used that one. I think I used this really tiny, tiny one. Oh, even smaller than that. So I used this one to come in, just barely clearing it to go around because I thought it would be smoother. Actually, they're both probably about the same. But that's how we can put together a signature. Remember, the most important thing here is don't forget your stop action. And secondly, remember that one of the things that you learned today was when we selected all of these frames and then right mouse click and reverse frames. That takes our last frame and makes it our first, and our first frame and makes it our last. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or you want to email me, just email me, give me a call, or come by and see me during my office hours.